Hello students, this is Dr. Shivangu Chauhan, Assistant Professor in Mechanical Engineering Department, ABES Engineering College. This is a video regarding the subject of Fundamental of Mechanical Engineering with the code BME 101 and 201. The topic of this presentation is, or this video is, Introduction to the Mechatronics System. This is lecture number 7. So, in this video, we will talk about the introduction of sensor and transducer. So first if we see the definition of the sensors, the devices that detect the changes in the physical, chemical or biological conditions and convert them into the measurable signals are known as the sensors basically. Similarly, the transducer are the devices which convert the one form of energy into another energy. Means we can say the one physical quantity into the another physical quantity. The conversion of that will be done with the help of a particular transducer. If we see the example of the sensors, we have seen the thermometer, which can measure the temperature. It is basically a temperature sensor. And if we talk about the transducer, so the microphone in our mobile phone is basically a transducer, which can convert the sound into the electrical signal, which can be further transmitted from one mobile phone to the another. Now, if we see the types of the sensor, so we can classify the sensor based on the measurable quantity first, the temperature sensors, as we have seen the thermocouples and the thermistor, the pressure sensor, strain gauge, and the piezoelectric sensors are there. After that, the light sensor and proximity sensor. So these are different kind of sensors we can classify based on the measurable physical quantity. Now, if we classify the sensor based on the output signal, so we can classify it in two ways, like analog sensors and the digital signal sensors. So the sensors which produces the continuous signal are known as the analog sensors, and the sensors which can produce the discrete signals are known as the digital sensors. Now we can also classify the sensor based on the technology used, like active sensor and passive sensors. So the sensors which require the external powers for their operation are known as the active sensors, and the sensors which can operate on the energy from the measured phenomena itself is known as the passive sensor. The example of the passive sensor we can consider thermocouples, and in the active sensors we can consider the photodiodes. Now here the types of transducer is there. So based on the energy conversion we can classify the transducer into three types. First one is the electrical to mechanical, which in common language are known as the actuators. So actuators are nothing but a kind of the transducer. Then we can also say that based on the conversion of the energy, transducer can be defined as which can convert the mechanical to electrical, like strain gauges. We have applied some forces, it will deform the metal, and we can measure the change in the electric resistance of the particular strain gauge. And the third one is thermal to electrical, like thermocouples, which can convert the temperature into the electrical signal. Second one, we can classify the transducer based on the principle of the operation, like resistive transducer, which can work on the change of the electric resistance with the change in the physical quantity. Then the capacitive transducer, in which the capacitance of a particular device will get change when something is happening nearby that particular transducer, like proximity sensor. Then third one is the inductive transducer, in which the inductance of a particular device got changes and something is happening beside the particular device, like LVDT, which is known as the linear variable differential transformer. Here are some common examples of the transducer given in the last, like microphones, as I have already discussed, loudspeakers, in which the electrical energy can be converted into the sound, and in the last, piezoelectric devices, in which we can convert the mechanical force or the mechanical deformation into the electrical signal. Here in this figure, you can see the operation of different kind of transducer. Basically, this is a one kind of you can say the active transducer, in which the piezoelectric material is there. We are compressing that material. We are providing some deformation, and we are getting a particular voltage over here. So this is a active transducer, and this is the LVDT in which we have to supply a particular power in the primary coil, and a metal is moving between the primary and secondary coil, and it will changing the flux, induction flux between primary and secondary coil. So this is, in this we are supplying a particular power to the primary coil. So this is a passive kind of transducer. Now we have to see what are the different characteristics of the sensors and transducer. So here we will see one by one. Basically, we can divide these kind of characteristics of sensors and transducer into two types, like static and dynamic characteristics. So under static characteristics, we will see this what is the sensitivity, accuracy, resolution, and linearity. So we will see these characteristics one by one over here. The sensitivity is basically defined as the ratio of the change in the output as we are going to change the particular input. So this is known as the sensitivity. Now if we talk about the accuracy, so the closeness of the measured value to the true value is known as the accuracy. How accurate our particular output or measured value is. The resolution is the smallest changes in the detectable, which can be detectable using a sensor. That particular thing is known as the resolution. Linearity is nothing but the proportionality between the input and output of a particular device. Then if we talk about the dynamic characteristics, so response time is there. Response time is basically the time taken to reach a particular steady state by any device is known as the response type of that particular device. The bandwidth range of the frequency the sensor can detect. A particular sensor, how much range of particular frequency it can detect is known as the bandwidth of that particular sensor. Now in the last, hysteresis is there, so it is nothing but the difference in the output when the input is firstly increases and then it is decreases in the opposite direction. So what is the changes? What are the differences in the output? This is known as the stresses. In the last, I would like to discuss some application of the sensors and transducer. So industrial automation is there, in which the pressure sensor in the hydraulic system we are using, the temperature sensor in various processes we are using. This is basically comes under the industrial automation applications. Then the healthcare sector is there, in which different kind of biosensors are used for the glucose monitoring, for the sugar measurement, pressure measurement, and various kind of sensor are also used on the ventilator machines. Then automobile sector, we are having the proximity sensor, parking sensors, and accelerometer, airbags, in which various kind of sensor are used. Then consumer consumer electronics, in which the mobile phones, smart gadgets, tablets, computers are there. And in the last, environmental monitoring is there, in which the humidity measurement, the pressure measurement, the weather forecasting. So we have to use different kind of sensors over there for all this environmental monitoring. So this is the summary of this class basically. First one, the sensor can detect the change and generate the measurable signals, while the transducer converts one form of energy into the another form. The classification of the sensors and transducer basically depends on the measurable quantities. What are the physical quantity we are going to measure or we are going to actuate. Then second one is the principle, and in the last we can divide that. We can classify the sensors and transducer on the base of the energy conversion. And in the last of this class, we have discussed about the application. So applications spans across the industries like healthcare, automotive, and consumer electronics. So this is all about of this class. These are the references book you can follow. Thanks for watching this video.